For Algebra 1, Unit 1, Day 2, we're solving 1- and 2-step equations. So the big idea is inverse operation, also opposite terms. So in this first one here, if I see I have a plus 15, which is your x, this is your expression, x plus 15, I want to get rid of that 15 by doing the opposite, subtracting it. So x would equal 12. Okay, here x equals 19. And as you can notice here, whenever I answer, I put my very first. You want to get in the habit of doing that. Make sure that you're writing x equals a equals. Okay. 9 times x. So the opposite of multiplying here, we just change what we are doing, which is multiplication now becomes division. So I divide by 9, that equals 4. Okay, so again, I'm not worried about my signs changing, I'm worried about my operation changing. So if this is x divided by 5, then I am multiplying by a 5. So that cancels and I have 55. Okay, now getting into 2 steps. It says here solve 100th if necessary. So it looks like if we get a decimal, we're going to have to round to the nearest 100th. Okay, so for letter A, x by itself, so the first thing I want to do is I want to add or subtract something. So here I'm going to subtract 3. And when I subtract here, we get 12. Then I'm going to divide by that 2 because this is multiplication. Do the opposite operation, and we would get x is 6. For part B, I want to go ahead and introduce to you the 5 steps of solving an equation. So A and B are very similar. I just want to review A, but B, these are the 5 steps I'm going to address every time we solve an equation. So 1, I want to know, can we clear a fraction? So do we have a fraction in this problem? No. Do we have distributive property or parentheses? Again, no. Can you combine your like terms on the same side? So can these combine? They cannot. And nothing else can combine with 19. Okay? Can you add or subtract something? Absolutely. We can get this positive 4 to the other side. So I'm going to subtract it. Then, last step is to divide. So if I divide, we get negative 5. Okay, in letter C, same idea, can you clear a fraction? And the answer is no, you cannot. Can you distribute? No, no parentheses. Can you combine like terms? Nope, these are not like terms, they are not combinable. Again, square root of 83 can't combine. Add or subtract? Certainly. So we are going to subtract the 7 from both sides. But we're not taking 83 minus 7, we're taking the square root of 83. This is where you need your calculator. So for the calculator, if you're using a TI-30XA, you put it in as 83, and then you take the square root of it, which is right there. Okay, this button right here. And you get this 9.1104, etc. You leave that on the screen and you just hit minus 7. So I'm just going to write out a few of those numbers, 2.1104. Now, I'm just going to leave that in the calculator. I'm not going to change the screen. And I'm going to divide both sides by 6. So divide by 6. And we get 0.3517. All right, so the 5 is in the hundredths place, and the 1 would keep the 5 the same. So my solution is 0.35. Okay, now as you can see, letter D is the same thing. If you go through your list, we can't clear, we can't distribute, there's not like terms on the same side, but we can add 26. All right, so I know that I'm going to take the square root of 329, add 26 to that, and I'm going to divide it by 5. So let's do that. So I clear out, do 329, take the square root, then I divide, oh, no, I'm sorry, I plus 26, so it's a 44.138. I divide, leave it in the screen, divide that by 5, and I get 8.8276. Okay, 2 is in my hundredth spot. The 7 makes the 2 round up. So 8.83. Okay, so now for letter E, addressing our steps here, I'm going to put right here. Can you clear a fraction? Yes. This part of the problem is where the x is at, and it's our fraction. So what is the denominator? Well, the denominator is a 2. So first thing is you're going to write a 2 above every term. And you're thinking of multiplication. So 2 times 1/2 actually cancels the 2's out, leaving 1x. 2 times 5 is 10, and 2 times 8 is 16. To solve, I'm going to go ahead and keep going. Okay, can I distribute? No. Can I combine like terms on the same side? Nope. Can I add or subtract? Yes, I can subtract 10. So 1x equals 6. It says to divide. I can divide by 1, but I'm still going to get 6. So when you have 1x or x, you're done. Okay? Now looking at F and E, they're very similar. It just doesn't have 1/3. It has the x where the 1 goes. But that's okay because it's still 1x over 3. It's the same thing as 1x over 2. So 1, can you clear a fraction? Absolutely we can clear a fraction. Our denominator is 3. So I'm going to multiply 3 to every term. Eliminate that 3. Gives me x. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. And 6 times 3 is 18. So moving down my list, I cannot distribute. I don't have like terms on the same side. But I can add 12. And that gives us 30. Okay, if I look at letter G, it's a little different, but I still have a fraction. But instead of just having x over 3 like I did here, I have x minus 7 over 3. Now that's different than this here. This is one term. This part I had a term and another term on the same side. Okay, the word term implies like x or 4x or x over 2. These are terms. Okay, this is a whole term. When the fraction is more complicated, okay, you're still going to multiply by the denominator on both sides. But this minus 7 is part of my fraction. It's part of my term. I can't separate it by multiplying by 3. So the 3's simply cancel, and I have x minus 7. I multiply, I get negative 36. So I go through my list of steps, and I see that I can't distribute, I can't combine, but I can add 7. Okay, And negative 36 plus 7 is negative 29. And I threw one more in there, okay, because I think it's a good practice. So in letter H, yes, I have the fraction, but it's this whole term. So I need to multiply both sides by negative 4. So it cancels out, and I'm left with x plus 3 and negative 20. So I can subtract 3 and negative 20 minus 3, same signs. So you add and you keep the sign. Okay, example 3. It says the selling price of a television in a store is $45 less than 3 times the wholesale price. If the selling price is $390, write and solve an equation to find the wholesale price of the television. Okay, so first thing we know is the total price of this thing is $390. That's your total. We also know that the television in the store is $45 less than 3 times the wholesale price. Okay, so obviously we don't know what the wholesale price is, and that we're going to say is W. So now we have 3 times the wholesale price. Well, 3 times W is what it's saying. And it is less, okay, $45 less than that, so minus 45. Then we solve the two-step equation by adding 45 to the other side. So this gives me 435. Divide by 3, and we get 100. Is $145. So when I divide, I get 145. So I know the wholesale price of the television originally was 145. And you want to make sure you have your symbol on there for dollars. Okay, for part B, the total cost for 12 necklaces including shipping was $113. The shipping charge was $7. First, you need to define your variables and then write an equation. So first, I need to define my variables, which would be N for necklace. We don't know how much the necklace was. It then says write an equation that models the situation. So we know that 12 necklaces were bought at a price we don't know. We also know that when we paid $113, that included a $7 shipping fee. The total amount was $113. So if I solve and work backwards, I basically figure out the cost of the necklace. So over here to the side, I'm going to use it as my workspace to solve. So if I subtract 7, I have 106. And if I divide by 12, I get 8.333, nope, sorry, 8.8333, repeating. Okay? Now, I know that the cost is $8.83, and I understand that that 3 would keep that a 3. But when you're dealing with money, we're going to have to round up in this situation. Okay? The manufacturer is not going to reduce your price if they can. So 8.83 is really going to be $8.84 per necklace, is what they're saying. Okay, last but not least, letter C. At Monroe Reservoir, it costs $65 per hour. This right here is an expression. Very important. $65 per hour, this means times H plus a $275 deposit to rent a pontoon boat. Write an equation that describes the cost C for renting a pontoon boat at the lake for T hours. Okay, well they're saying use T for hours. I used H. So let's replace our H with T. And our expression needs to become an equation. So we're going to say, okay, well this equals our total cost, our C. So that is your equation right there. Now I made a little fancy T just because I have a plus sign next to it and I don't want to be confused with T and plus. So my equation is C equals 65 times T plus 275. If you end up spending $730, so that is your total cost right there, for how many hours, T, did you rent the pontoon boat for? Well, this is pretty simple then. You take the 730 and you plug it in for the C. And you have a two-step equation. So I'm going to subtract that 275. Okay, so 730 minus 275. I get 455. I divide both sides by 65. And this means that they were on the lake for 7 hours. Okay? So again, I labeled my answer. I included my variable. I have everything wrapped up in a nice, neat package.